welcome to whatever this is. I expect by the time you see it or listen to it, we'll have decided. At the moment, we have no idea where it's going, but it does seem remarkable that on the day the Prime Minister resigned and parts of Britain received a red heat warning, people will look back in months, years' time and say, this was the first podcast Victoria and Paul ever recorded on that day. So she's Victoria. I'm Paul. We met 7, 8 years ago, something like that, on a mountain safari. Since then, we've talked a lot. We've told one another lots of stories, and we realized that what we do is quite unusual. So I'm a plane nerd. She's a plane, car, and yacht nerd. And when we tell our stories, we just think, they're unusual. We're lucky. We do unusual things. We meet incredible people, and we thought they might be worth sharing. B&B, what do you think?
Totally agree. I mean, none of this is planned. If we'd said to ourselves 20 years ago, I know exactly what we're going to be doing on such and such a day, I would never have had this down. Absolutely no way. So it's fun. It's dynamic. No week's ever the same. And I think it's, when anybody asks us what we do and we try and explain what we do, people are none the wiser. And they go away thinking, I want to introduce you, but I don't really know what she does or he does. Anyway, we're making a living. The lights are on, it's all good. So
yeah, no, this is true. So I mentioned we met on a mountain safari, which we did. You should probably tell people what is a mountain safari and how did that happen?
Yeah, okay. So that came about in 2015, and I was working for McLaren at that point, and I had a lovely client called Orions Aviation, who are the authorized distributor for Pilatus aircraft, and we decided that we needed to do some events to kind of help them sell Pilatus aircraft in the UK. And what would that look like? So we thought, well, maybe it's a sort of media event. We get some media, targeted use of media. It's going to be Times, Lux. It's going to be all the obvious, Condé Nast, et cetera, because the potential buyers of the aircraft would be reading those newspapers. So I pitched the idea of having a mountain safari, which would be us leaving Biggin Hill, which is where Orions are based. And then we were going to fly down because we were going to Saanen, to Gstaad. I thought it'd be really cool to actually do a little safari through the mountains on the way down and just show how capable this aircraft is. So we did. So we took in the Matterhorn and a few other mountains on the way, and it was spectacular. And just incredible, flying underneath them and through them all the way. So it was an amazing event, and the snow-capped peaks and everything, and showing off this brilliant PC-12 was,
I remember three circuits around the summit of the Matterhorn. It's special. It's that that is something. Sometimes people say, "Oh, where have you flown?" And I'll say, "Oh, we flew on this mountain safari." And they're like, "What is that?" And they'll say, "Have you ever seen the Matterhorn?" I'm like, "I flew around it 3 times." And then you think, that sounds really big-headed. That sounds terrible because people don't get to do it, and you have to pinch yourself and think, I'm really here. I'm really lucky to get to do this. And then we flew down the valleys. We did that steep approach into the airport there. And then there was that Bentley that came from the hotel. I can't remember what it was, but it was big and it was black and it used to belong to Roger Moore.
Yeah, it was incredible. And I another standout thing from that event was the parquet flooring on the rotational base within the FBO for the aircraft, actually next to the FBO for the aircraft. And I think there was a Technam in there, and some other little, I don't know, cub or something like that. And then suddenly there was G. Dillon, that was our media demonstrator, PC-12. And just seeing Dylan sitting there on this amazing parquet floor, which would look pretty great in an amazing house, but this was for the planes instead.
And there were cows in the field beside the runway with proper Swiss bells around their necks.
I know.
Like a Milker advert.
I know, it really was. And then flying the drone, obviously, away from the airport later on, and just being able to get up high and look down on where we were was just incredible. It's pretty majestic down there. It was a really cool event.
Pretty stunning. So that was just the start of really us knowing one another, but nothing has got normal ever since, has it really? So we're looking at your background. I'm sure everyone's looking at your background already. Tell us, what did you do last week?
What did I do? I did this last week. Rolls-Royce were revealing the new Spectre Series 2. coinciding with they support a lovely chef rather called Tom Sellers, who
Mm,
has two Michelin stars. He's based in London, but he has had a restaurant previously at Carbis Bay Hotel Resort, which is where we were based
mm.
for this event. And we were celebrating him because he's about to open a new restaurant. So we had a lovely private dining experience at Moore. And in fact, here we are, a little thing.
Oh, look at
Oh,
that.
and it's gorgeous. So Rolls, we're sitting having a chat, Rolls-Royce team and me, and how, because this was not going to be a drive event. So how do you get 20 odd media, 18 media roughly down to Cornwall? And I thought to myself, well, hang on, this has got PC12 written all over it, all over again, because they're going to walk across the road from Goodwood. They will have been having a tour of the plant. They get across the road from Goodwood, they go in and they take off on grass, which, as we know, Playing Geeks is one of the PT12's USPs,
Mhm.
the stall, short takeoff and landing. So I thought this is fantastic. So we'll get the media on two or three PC12s. So one phone call to a friend in Zurich, and Hansjet came on board and said, "Yeah, we'll do that." And then the weather came on board, which was quite delightful. And so we ended up switching at the last minute from Goodwood because of the weather, because we were fog bound,
Mm.
unlike today. And so we moved it to Shoreham, London, Brighton, Birmingham. What's it called? London, you know,
Somewhere.
London Shoreham Airport or
Yeah.
something. And so we left. We had the aircraft there, so we were all picked up in our Cullinans or Phantoms or Ghosts, and then we were taken to Shoreham, where the aircraft waited for us, which is amazing. And then off we went and took off, and it was great. It was great being on the aircraft with the media behind me,
Mm.
saying, have we just taken off? We literally rolled down that runway for about 2 nanoseconds. I went, yep, that's the PC-12. So
Yeah.
it was pretty cool. And then, of course, we were going to land in Land's End,
Mm.
but Cornwall was then fog bound. So we then had to switch that to Newquay. So we
Mm.
landed in Newquay, but then we had a lovely drive in the back of a Phantom
Mm.
down to Carbis Bay, which was glorious. And then on the way back, the weather gods provided all the worst goods again and said, well, you can take off, but then you'll have to go that route and you can't land there and da 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 da, which was a hassle, but
Mm.
safety is first. And we took off from Newquay, and some of us went to Biggin, some of us went to Southampton, depending on where we're located. And
Mm.
here we are.
So
Yeah,
you didn't invite me, so I don't know about that car. That's the Spectre sitting there behind you, isn't it?
it
Um,
is.
I mean, it looks big and fast and impressive.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about a Spectre?
Two-door. Spectre is, so this is series two that's just launched just now. And this is a range extender, so electric, but this is
Oh.
added miles now, so you go much further in unbelievable refinement and comfort, and the interior is stunning. It's completely stunning, and so comfortable to be in, and it's a driver's car. Another story for another pod for another day. Years ago, I had the fortune to drive a Phantom from Cape Town up to the Skeleton Coast, and which was amazing. And I think the whole thing was that most Rolls-Royce, or a lot of Rolls-Royce owners, sit in the back and they
Mm.
get driven to White's in London, or they get driven to, I don't know, London Oxford Airport or
Mm.
Farnborough or something like that. But actually, what's it like to take that car to somewhere completely incongruous and drive it yourself?
Mm.
And we did that, and it was extraordinary. And I did it alongside Autocar magazine, and we had a photographer with us and support vehicle. But I'm going to tell that story another day because it's really cool. But these cars are driving machines. I would much rather drive it than have a chauffeur. I mean, they are superb, and this is the Series 2 is stunning, and obviously can go way, way further on one charge.
So you see, to me, a Rolls Royce is definitely something you sit in the back of. I hadn't considered that it would be a fun thing to drive.
Yeah.
So you're saying sit at the front and drive it. You're saying this is an electric Rolls Royce, which
Mhm.
great. Does that mean that it's stuffed with driving aids? Now, I don't have an electric car. I have an old beaten up Volkswagen, but when I've sat in electric cars, they do seem to be stuffed with things that ping and dong and panic whenever you move them. Is this the same here?
Which drives us all nuts.
Yes.
No, it
Right.
it does have driver aids, but they don't get in the way of your experience, put it that way.
Okay.
Whereas you don't open the door and have ding, 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 or some other irritating thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Mm.
it it seems to me, like I say, I've not really driven an electric car, but it does seem to me the more driver aids there are, the less capable people become of driving.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel that driving is something you should earn. You should qualify for it. You should take a pride in it. You should attempt to do it well. But people seem to be more and more thinking that it's a bit like sitting in their living room. And the car will take care of you because it will ping if anything gets close and it will tell you to check for a pedestrian before you pull away, which doesn't necessarily mean that you do. And I've got a little story I would love to share with you about an experience at the local household waste tip recently. So we've gone already in this, whatever this is that we're doing here, from Rolls-Royce Spectre Mark II, Series 2, to the local household waste tip. So I've gone along there. I don't know, I've dumped my flower pots or whatever it was. And completely off subject here, but there was that rarest of breeds at the waste tip, the solo young woman, which meant immediately all of the men there went into pose mode. And possibly not men as old as me, but men in their 40s with bellies hanging out of their England shirts are suddenly telling one another how much my car was, how much I earn.
Yeah.
She's busily ignoring them, putting all her rubbish in the
Getting on
tip.
with her task. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
honestly pathetic. Anyway, the point of the story is I finish up, I pull away. There's a white thing on the left. It looked like a fridge on wheels. One of those electric things where the brand I don't know, but it sounds like something you'd take for an upset stomach. Um, I'm alongside of it. There's a ping and it just pulls out almost into me. So I've swerved and blown the horn and it's just carried on, presumably because it didn't say to the driver, you must look over your right shoulder before pulling out. And I was thinking, that must be full of things alarming you. You
Mhm.
haven't looked around.
Yeah.
It,
Hideous.
it
Hideous.
astonishes me. So, what do you think the solution is to all of that then? Filling cars with things that tell you how to drive. You're a driver. You've been taught to drive properly. You've been taught to drive fast properly, I believe. Tell us about driving fast properly.
Well, first of all, I totally agree with you, and I don't mean to come from a sort of elevated place to say this, but driving is just appalling. I mean,
Mm,
it's just appalling. I mean, you drive behind people now and people don't indicate. It's
mm,
being behind a yellow cab in New York, and they just don't indicate. You're just like, I'm going to guess what you're going to do, and people are completely unaware of other people on the road. I mean, unbelievably unaware of other people
mm.
on the road, and of course, there's lots of SUVs now. That's a whole topic for another day as well. But everybody's got to have a huge car. Even if they're on their own and single, they've got to have an immensely huge car.
Yeah.
And of course, with that, huge car, weight, and then you've got electric cars, huge batteries, and then you've got trucks, and you've got all the vehicles that attend a road every single day. And what's happening now is we've got these potholes, but still the cash cars for all these companies are these big SUVs.
Mm,
Um, I personally don't want all those aids. I don't have anything telling me I'm about to go beep 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 beep, beep, beep into it, or something like that. I don't want that, and
mm,
I quite like a really original state of driving from a few years ago before we had all of this. I remember having a test car years ago, and it had so much stuff on it. The minute I opened the door, and I thought I'm going to have to take the scissors to this snip some wires because it's going to drive me insane. I was having bouts of alopecia every time I got in the car,
yeah.
thinking, I've,
Yeah.
I've got 5 hours driving this, and it's absolutely mad. And the vibration of the steering wheel because you might be shifting a lane or something. I mean,
Mm,
but what it's doing ultimately for me is it's people are becoming reliant on that, and therefore they're
mm,
not reliant on any talent, latent or otherwise, they might have. And that's really worrying. And I remember on my commuting days to McLaren, and seeing car crashes and thinking, how did that happen?
how have
You're
you
on
done
your
that?
own. You have one job.
Yeah.
How have you crashed into somebody else? What have you been doing?
Mm,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's a bit of a thing. I think there's too much. And well, I also love driving like you, and
Mm,
I want to drive a nice car, and I want to know what I'm doing. I want to feel those driven wheels. I want to get the sense through the steering wheel. I want to enjoy it.
mm, yeah.
And now it's everything is homogenous, and it's not, I shouldn't say that because there's a lot of amazing cars out there, and I have driven a few this year,
Mm,
but I still think I wish there was less involvement, less. take over from all these aids and actually just reliant on people's aptitude.
Mm.
And if they don't have any, maybe stay home. No, I didn't say that.
I'm sure you did, but no one's listening, so it's fine. So I
Just
must tell you,
that.
okay, I have a friend who has, I think, 3,500 hours in fast jets. 1,000 of those hours as a test pilot. And he has a modern car with one of those gross big screens in the middle of the dashboard, and he will only use it for navigation. Otherwise, he turns it off because he says it's unsafe. It's a
Yeah.
distraction. And he said nothing on it is important. You don't need any of that if
No.
you're competent and in control. So he
Yeah.
switches it off. And he's a man who's used to managing systems in a fighter cockpit. And he's like, it's just not safe, so I'm not going to use it. And his
Yeah.
other point is the more tech you get in a jet, the more you're trained to use it.
Yeah.
But you can go and buy the latest high-tech car and have no training whatsoever with a
No.
head-up display and a head-down display and
Yeah.
multiple inputs from your phone and heaven knows what else
Yeah.
with no training. And you can reach overwhelm very quickly, even though those devices are supposed to make it easier. They're actually overwhelming you with input to the point where you haven't got any left to peek over your shoulder at the pedestrian or the cyclist.
Yeah.
So that's the car industry destroyed. What should we do in our next episode?
Also, just going back to the car industry, sorry, the sort of advent of the big iPads nailed to the
Mm,
dashboard.
mm,
That's another. I just think, come on, there's got to be something better out there than that. And you look at Porsche, and they have everything beautifully across the
right.
dashboard. It's stunning, it's simple, it's effective, it's beautiful. But also when you have that iPad stuck to the front, you're driving, you're looking here, but you're also looking at that because you're thinking, am I doing, or is that a better route? Who's that
Mm,
calling me? Who's that messaging me? Can I, and you, we've all got CarPlay and all that sort of stuff, but it's it's not safe, it's not ideal. And
mm,
if people have got lots in their mind and they've got children and they've got this going on and big deals going down at work and stuff like that, when you have that constantly in front of you and you're constantly checking it,
mm. Yeah,
what's that going to deliver? I mean,
yeah, yeah. I drove a Porsche once, just once, not like you who drive them every day, I know, but I drove one once. I didn't really like it.
oh, oof, what was it?
Mm. It was some kind of 911 based twin turbo thing with pop-up headlights.
Yeah, okay. When was
Um, not sure what. It was on a track day, and there was that, and then there was a Ferrari 380, I'll say.
okay?
380, yeah.
We'll
I
come
think
back to that off air.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So drove the Porsche. It was peeing with rain as well.
Oh,
Drove the Porsche first. It was an automatic, and I just didn't
it's
get
a
on
track
with
day
how
by
it
any
felt.
chance.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was fast. It was terrifyingly quick, but I just didn't feel very connected. And then
Yeah.
I got in the Ferrari, and that was like slipping on a really comfortable jacket. You know, the jacket that it's got a bit thin and scruffy, but you just can't get rid of it because it's just your
Yeah.
jacket. That's what the
Yeah.
Ferrari was like instantly. And I remember I'd done 2 or 3 laps, and there was this sharp right-hand corner, and I was braking or I was lifting off and then braking. And the instructor said, "Why are you lifting off?" And I said, "Well, so there's a corner. That's what brakes are for. We accelerate until we brake. That's how we go quickly." All right, okay. So I've gone into this corner. There's the last corner on the last lap. I'd gone into it fairly hot, braked really hard, turned it in, and the back end came out, and I caught it, and we fishtailed down the straight, and he was going power, 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 and I was accelerating, and the wheels are spinning, and it's fishtailing, and we just shot out of that corner, and it straightened itself up, and he said, "Wasn't that wonderful?" It's like, actually, that was. Can I do it again? He's like, "No, you've had your 5 laps."
Oh my God, amazing. Was that manual? Was the
That was
Ferrari?
manual, yeah, with that lovely, lovely shiny silver sort of gate with a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
stumpy
yeah,
stick
yeah.
with a
Yeah.
round knob on the top.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Sort of clanky. And
yeah,
oh
yeah,
my God, amazing.
yeah.
As soon as I think you have a manual gearbox, it's a much more what's the word? It's a much more involving
Yeah.
experience because you're in charge and you sense, if you sense things, if you really sense what's going on, you sense what gear, you sense exactly what's going on underneath you,
Mm,
and that's the most important thing. But I having said that, I have been on track days in fully automatic cars and with paddles,
yeah.
and that's been amazing as well. But I would on a track day, I don't know, yeah. But amazing that you did that. But then a lot of these track day companies, they've got a lot better now. But I remember when I first started writing about cars, the track day companies at that stage were using kind of slightly hammered cars. So they'd be buying slightly used, pre-loved cars. And they weren't, it was more pre than loved. But yeah. And so I think it was, yeah, but it's got a lot better now.
Yeah, I did another track day where you got to drive three Aston Martins, and one of them did have some issues for sure. And the guy assured me they were all like that, and I thought, I really don't think that's how Aston Martin sends them out of the
We're gonna
factory.
let
They don't all have a clutch that comes up so high that your knee is under your chin. That just can't be the case. Anyway,
Oh my God, how hysterical. What track were you on?
so the Ferrari and Porsche was at Rockingham, which I think has closed down now, but Motor Speedway place up near Nottinghamshire
Yeah,
somewhere,
somewhere
Newark,
up
that
there.
sort of area. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Astons were on an old airfield in Norfolk somewhere. I can't remember
Oh,
where, but
really?
yeah, and it was an odd one. The track was laid out with cones, and I couldn't really see where I was supposed to be going. But these people flashing past who obviously knew, and me going, I just don't know what's going on here. So it was kind of a clean underwear afterwards event, that one. I just
Yeah.
didn't settle into that, but
Yeah.
but
I
it
know.
was, yeah, it was okay. So if anyone is listening, if you've got any offers, I would very much like to do that again, but maybe
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
track that actually has corners and curbs so I can see where I'm going.
Oh, I think you need to go to Spa because that's a really good experience.
Well, there
There's
you
nothing
are.
like driving through the Ardennes forest. It's gorgeous. And Eau Rouge,
Is this you telling us that you have driven at Spa?
I have. I have. Yeah. And it
So
was that was
see, I was
fun.
I was thinking about saying, well, that's it for us for today, but it's not now. Tell us about Spa.
So that was a track day. That must have been, God, when was that? 2000. So I just started my car writing career, car testing career.
Yeah.
And yeah, we drove out in, I had a 911 of some sort, and I can't remember what it was either. But anyway, there were six of us out there, and it was brilliant. We stayed at this gorgeous little house on the edge of the track. It was amazing. We got to meet all these amazing people, and it was a media event, so all these lovely people being brought in, and hot laps and all that stuff, and it was just amazing. But I just remember you go into Eau Rouge in your first time, and you just see the camber and you see the way it's going, but there's a brow as you're going up Eau Rouge, and you, despite the fact that you've just been round it sort of 7,000 times, you still
Mm.
think, what happens over that brow again? And
Yeah.
so you're hammering flat, going round and then up that corner, and you just think, oh my God, what happens? Is there a sharp left? What am I doing? And I bottled it completely. And I thought, oh no, and suddenly felt myself on the brakes. But then you get over the top and you think, oh, I'm fine. And you carry on. It's great. But it was amazing. The most amazing about Spa is that it's still actually a public road.
Wow.
So you may be going along a million miles an hour, but there's I don't know, some amazing guy in his tractor who's just fed the goats, and he's coming back because he's run out of goat nuts or something, and he's now coming onto the track in his tractor. So you're focusing fully gripped kind of thing, and then
Yeah.
suddenly you see this guy and you think, has he seen me? My God, here we go. This is it. This is it. Anyway, it's completely normal. And then you see somebody coming back from a big shop at, Auchan or something like that. And it's you're sharing one of the world's greatest tracks with people who are just going about their daily business.
You see what you've done with that story there is perfectly illustrated the whole point of whatever this is, which is you said the first time you turn into Eau Rouge, pretty much no one else has ever done that. You're talking about the first time you did it, but the second and the third times are fine.
Another
Which
good corner is Parabolica,
is
but
it?
that's, yeah, for another day.
Is Parabolica very fast?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
what.
you could take it very slowly. You could go at 5 miles an hour, but that
Yeah,
would be a
why
shame,
would
I
you?
think.
If someone's given you a 911 and said,
Yeah.
fill
Yeah.
your boots, why would you?
Exactly. Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
Well, right. We have plenty for another day, do we
Oh,
not? We,
so
we've
much.
we've got driving the Phantom from wherever to wherever, and we've got
Yeah. Yeah.
Porsches around Spa, and we've got lots of airplane and yacht stories to
And
come.
mishaps.
Well, yes. I mean, yeah, yeah, so much. So
Mm.
for now, I'm going to say let's look forward to next time.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens next time. And I want to thank Eva Media for producing this, and at least for the time being, hosting it. This really is whatever it is. We don't know where it's going. We don't know what it's going to turn into.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be available through Eva Media, and we'll be promoting it, all that kind of thing. So I'm going to say thanks to everyone, anyone, just the one person who watched or listened to this. And I'm going to hand over to you, VMB, to say your goodbyes. Thank you so much.
Yeah, brilliant. I loved it. I've absolutely loved it and can't wait to the next time. There is so much, brushes with existence and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, it's been great. It's been a blast, and I can't wait to the next one. And for anybody watching, if you want anything on your mind that you think might actually work really well for this pod, we want to bring in some guests in the future. So any suggestions for guests, and also ideas? Do you have questions about what we've done or what we're doing, how we got here? Depending on the age group, whoever's watching would be really interested to know. So this is going to go up on LinkedIn, and otherwise, if you know us, you know how to get hold of us through social and telephone numbers and things. But thank you so much for joining us, and we can't wait to see you next time, and have a really good week and stay cool, because it's currently 34 degrees here.